The silence around Sandringham broke the moment Princess Anne finally spoke. For days, whispers had circled the Christmas guest list. But Anne's words turned rumor into royal shock. Camilla had not simply changed her plans. She had been removed from the Sandringham Christmas gathering after a private family decision hardened behind palace doors. One chair disappeared from the holiday table, and with it came a question no one could ignore. Who had truly drawn the line? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Camilla felt the humiliation before the palace found language gentle enough to explain it. Christmas at Sandringham, the royal family's traditional private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, was never just a seasonal visit. It was the one moment each year when public duty and family belongings seemed to meet at the same table. So when Camilla's name vanished from the arrangement, the meaning was brutal. She had not been moved to another seat. She had been removed from the family's inner Christmas circle. Anne carried the decision like a weight, not a victory. The Princess Royal knew Sandringham Christmas represented unity, continuity, and the monarchy's most symbolic winter tradition, and she believed pretending everything was healed would damage the family more deeply than admitting the fracture. During a private recorded conversation with a senior household advisor, Anne finally broke silence and explained that Christmas could not become a stage for unresolved wounds. She did not say it with satisfaction. She said it like someone naming a truth that had become too heavy to hide. Charles discovered the revised guest list alone. The king read down the names slowly, expecting order, expecting compromise, expecting the familiar shape of a royal Christmas that could still hold together. Then he reached the empty place where Camilla should have been, and his hand stopped. A guest list, the official written plan showing who is included in a private royal gathering, can sometimes say more than a public statement. This one said that Anne's objection had been accepted, and Charles set the paper down without speaking. Camilla understood what that silence meant. She feared the removal would be read not only as a change of plan, but as rejection from the people closest to the crown. Anne understood it too, yet Anne believed silence would make her complicit in a holiday gathering already strained beyond repair. The removal looked sudden from the outside, but inside the palace, it had been building through old wounds, private tensions, and one Christmas question no one wanted to face. And before the palace could explain why one missing name shook the monarchy, the story had to move closer to the people whose loyalty, pride, and pain had turned Christmas into a battlefield. Camilla believed Sandringham should confirm her place beside Charles. Anne believed Christmas should protect the family from pretending that old wounds had healed. Between them stood the king, torn between wife and sister, comfort and discipline, public dignity and private truth. The removal was not about one invitation. It was about whether the monarchy's most intimate tradition could survive when the people inside it no longer trusted the same version of peace. Camilla felt the expected invitation carried more than seasonal warmth. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was seen as the one annual moment when blood, marriage, memory, and monarchy sat under the same roof. It was not a public ceremony, but it spoke publicly because people watched, who arrived, who walked together, and who seemed welcome. For Camilla, being there beside Charles meant acceptance. It meant the door had stayed open. It meant the family had chosen unity over old bitterness. Anne saw the same gathering with a harder eye. The Princess Royal had built her life around duty, plain speech, and discipline, and that reputation gave her objection, unusual force inside the king's private circle. Anne did not believe Christmas could survive as a performance. She felt protective of Charles, but she also feared he was trying to force harmony before the family was ready to live it honestly. To Anne, a peaceful table built on pressure would not heal anyone. It would only teach everyone how to smile over the wound. Camilla took Anne's resistance personally because Christmas was not like a carriage order or a ceremonial line. It carried emotion. It carried belonging. The queen consort believed Anne's objection made her look unwanted, not just questioned. Charles understood that pain, and the king tried to hold the center, but the center kept slipping. If he defended Camilla too strongly, Anne would see him ignoring the warning. If he listened to Anne, Camilla would feel abandoned in the one family moment she most wanted secured. William noticed the atmosphere change when Anne quietly refused to approve Camilla's place at the private Christmas luncheon table. The prince did not interrupt, but he understood the danger immediately. A luncheon table, meaning the carefully planned seating for the private family meal, was never only about chairs inside that house. It showed who could be trusted near the emotional center of the day. Catherine watched Charles hesitate over the guest list, and she saw the king wanting unity while fearing the confrontation unity would require. Anne's silence did not break by accident. Camilla's hurt did not come from nowhere. Charles's hesitation did not stay hidden for long. Because Anne's silence did not break by accident, it broke after one specific moment convinced her that Camilla's presence at Sandringham would turn Christmas into a performance. The turning point came during a private Christmas planning meeting 3 weeks before Sandringham. The table was covered with seating notes, travel timings, chapel arrangements, and household instructions. Camilla asked whether certain family members could be placed where they would not disturb the tone of the day. The words were careful. The meaning was not. Anne looked across the table and understood, in that instant, that Christmas was being managed like a battlefield. Anne did not react loudly, and that made the moment more dangerous. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was supposed to hold the family together when the public was watching for every sign of unity. The Christmas schedule, meaning the planned order of private meals, chapel attendance, arrivals, and family customs, depended on emotional balance as much as tradition. Camilla believed she was protecting that balance. Anne believed Camilla had just crossed the line between preventing tension and controlling the room. Camilla felt misunderstood before anyone challenged her directly. She saw the suggested seating adjustment as a way to stop old bitterness from spilling into Christmas morning, not as an act of exclusion. The Queen Consort knew Sandringham could become fragile when smiles were expected before wounds had healed, and she wanted the day to pass without embarrassment. But Anne heard something different. To the Princess Royal, placing certain family members away from the emotional center of the day sounded less like peacekeeping and more like management of loyalty. Anne watched the household secretary lower his pen toward the file. A household secretary, the senior staff figure responsible for recording and organizing private royal arrangements, could turn a passing suggestion into official planning language with one quiet note. That was why Anne moved before the pencil mark became part of the final record. She asked for the paper. The secretary froze, then handed it over, and Camilla saw at once that her careful request had become something larger than she intended. Anne later revealed in a documented private account that this was the exact moment she decided Camilla's Christmas role had to be reconsidered. She said the holiday could not be arranged around fear, because once fear shaped the table, every smile after that would look staged. Camilla heard the challenge beneath Anne's silence, and the Queen Consort's composure tightened. She had asked for distance to prevent conflict. Anne saw distance as proof that conflict had already won. Camilla finally demanded to know whether Anne was questioning her place in the family itself. The question did not land softly. It struck the room with the force of everything both women had avoided saying. Anne did not answer quickly, and that pause told Camilla more than words could have. And that question dragged the tension out of paperwork and into a confrontation so personal that even Charles could not fully shield either woman from what came next. Camilla entered the private sitting room with one question burning behind her calm expression. Anne was already there, standing beside the closed file. No aides softened the exchange. No careful palace phrase could absorb the impact. Camilla asked whether Anne wanted her excluded from Sandringham. Anne did not look away. She answered that Christmas could not be built around comfort if comfort meant silencing the truth. Camilla felt the answer strike harder because it did not sound angry. It sounded final. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was more than a festive tradition. It was the one annual moment where the family's private bonds were judged through public expectation, even before anyone stepped outside. The final household arrangements, meaning the approved plan for who would attend, where they would sit, and how the holiday would unfold, had now become the battlefield. Camilla believed her presence could steady the image of unity. Anne believed it would bury resentment beneath forced smiles. Anne kept her voice controlled, but control did not mean softness. The Princess Royal felt Camilla wanted the emotional shape of Christmas adjusted around her own security, and that thought angered her in a way she refused to show fully. Camilla saw the objection as something far more personal. She was Charles's wife, yet Anne's challenge made her feel unwanted inside the very family she had fought for years to stand beside. The queen consort had expected resistance from the public, not from a closed room inside the family's own holiday plans. Camilla asked whether this was about peace or punishment. Anne opened the closed file and pointed to the seating note, the written suggestion about placing certain family members away from the emotional center of the day. A seating note, in this kind of private household planning, was not just about chairs. It could reveal who was trusted, who was protected, and who was being kept at a careful distance. Anne said the gathering had begun to look like managed loyalty rather than honest peace, and the phrase changed the room. Camilla's composure tightened. She asked whether Charles had approved Anne's objection, and for a moment even Anne seemed to feel the weight of the king's absence. Anne answered that Charles would have to face the truth before Christmas morning. She did not say he had chosen yet. She said he would have to. That was the wound beneath the whole confrontation. Camilla wanted protection, Anne wanted honesty, and Charles would be forced to decide which one Sandringham could survive. Anne closed the file again, and the sound felt like a decision being sealed. Camilla did not move at first. She understood that the argument had passed beyond pride. Once Anne left the room, the dispute was no longer between two women, it landed directly on the king, where love, duty, and fear collided. Charles knew the Sandringham file was more dangerous than it looked. A Christmas guest list can become a royal confession when one name is missing. Camilla expected him to defend her. Anne expected him to understand the warning. William knew the wrong decision would turn family tension into public weakness. And the king, staring at the altered list, realized that every possible answer would wound someone he loved. Charles kept the file open, but his face gave nothing away. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was one of the monarchy's most visible symbols of private unity and public continuity. Even when the doors were closed, the country still watched who arrived, who walked together, and who seemed secure inside the family circle. The Christmas arrangements, meaning the approved plan for attendance, meals, chapel movement, and family customs, were supposed to create calm. This file did the opposite. It showed Camilla missing, Anne unmoved, and Charles trapped between peace and truth. Camilla waited for the king to restore her place because she believed marriage should mean protection when the family line hardened against her. The queen consort had endured public judgment for years, but exclusion from Sandringham felt more intimate than any headline. It touched belonging. It touched pride. It touched the fear that acceptance could still be taken away with one revised list. Charles understood that humiliation, and he knew his silence would feel like abandonment. Yet he also knew that defending Camilla without answering Anne's warning would turn Christmas into a performance built on pressure. William chose his words carefully when he spoke to Charles in a private conversation. The prince warned that restoring Camilla without addressing Anne's concerns would make the family look divided behind a false smile. William understood that the monarchy could survive tension, but it could not survive looking dishonest at its most symbolic family moment. Charles listened, and the king did not interrupt. He knew William was not attacking Camilla. He was warning him that unity forced too quickly can become more damaging than division admitted honestly. Charles looked again at the revised list and noticed the phrase Anne had written beside the change. Christmas cannot be staged. The words cut through every possible excuse. Anne had not framed her objection as punishment. She had framed it as protection. Charles saw, in that one line, the terrible logic of his sister's position. If he reversed her now, he would not only be restoring Camilla, he would be declaring that Sandringham could be reshaped to hide discomfort. Camilla's pain stood on one side, Anne's warning stood on the other. William's caution settled between them like a final weight. Charles allowed the revision to stand, not because it healed the family, but because undoing it would make the wound larger. And as the king chose restraint over rescue, Camilla received the final Christmas arrangement and saw that Sandringham had closed its doors to her. Camilla did not learn the decision from a headline. She received it quietly, folded inside a private household envelope, with her Sandringham role reduced to absence. For a moment, she sat still. Then she read the list again, searching for a softer meaning that was not there. Her name had been removed from Christmas. The silence in the room felt colder than any public insult could have been. Camilla held the paper as if one more glance might change it. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was not merely a seasonal tradition. It was the family's most intimate public symbol, a place where arrival, absence, and belonging carried meaning far beyond one winter morning. The private family arrangement, meaning the internal plan deciding who would attend the meals, chapel moments, and household customs, had shifted around her. Camilla was no longer central to the holiday. She was outside it. Charles tried to soften the decision, but softness could not undo the absence. The king told Camilla the change was meant to protect the tone of Christmas, not punish her, and he insisted the family needed space before forced togetherness turned into another wound. Camilla heard the words, but she heard something deeper beneath them. Anne's judgment had outweighed her position. The queen consort had expected Charles to restore her place, and when he did not, restraint felt like abandonment dressed as wisdom. Camilla folded the final arrangement sharply and placed it face down. She refused to read the Sandringham schedule again because the schedule had become more than paper. It had become proof that her place in the family still carried conditions. She feared the removal would be read as a sign that her acceptance remained fragile, that one objection from Anne could still move her away from the family's emotional center. Charles saw the folded list and understood the damage. He had preserved calm, but he had not protected Camilla from humiliation. Anne received confirmation that the revised plan had been accepted, and she showed no triumph. The Princess Royal did not smile. She did not treat Camilla's absence as victory. In a documented household account, a senior aide described Anne's reaction as tired resolve, because Anne believed the decision had saved Christmas from becoming dishonest. But she also knew it had hurt Charles's wife. Duty had won, yet duty did not feel clean. Camilla sat with the loss. Charles carried the guilt. Anne carried the burden of being right in a way that still caused pain. The removal seemed final, sealed by paper and silence, until Anne agreed to explain herself directly to Charles without advisors, documents, or palace filters. But just when the family seemed locked in quiet damage, Anne agreed to sit with Charles alone, and the meaning of her decision began to change. There were no advisors in the room when Anne finally spoke to Charles. No guest list between them. No holiday schedule. No Camilla waiting outside. Just a brother and sister facing the cost of a decision already made. Camilla had been wounded, but Anne believed Sandringham had been protected, and Charles had to decide whether protecting the meaning of Christmas justified the pain left behind. Charles did not begin as king. He began as a husband who knew his wife had been hurt. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was meant to feel sincere, not staged for comfort or survival. It carried private memory and public meaning at the same time. Charles understood that Camilla's absence would be judged as more than a change in holiday plans. It would look like rejection. It would look like the family had allowed old doubts to step back into the room. Anne listened without interrupting, but her sadness did not become apology. The Princess Royal told Charles that Sandringham could not be arranged around private control or emotional pressure, because once Christmas became managed, every smile would lose its truth. She explained that Camilla's planning request had frightened her, not because Camilla wanted peace, but because the peace seemed to depend on moving certain people away from the heart of the day. Anne believed that was not reconciliation, it was choreography. Charles admitted Camilla felt humiliated, and the admission changed the room. The king knew humiliation inside a family cuts deeper than public criticism, because public anger can be dismissed, but family distance becomes proof. Anne showed pain when he said it. She did not enjoy what had happened. She did not deny Camilla's hurt. But Anne refused to apologize for objecting, because she believed an apology would turn the warning into a personal attack when, in her mind, it had always been about protecting the meaning of Christmas. Anne then offered the only compromise she could accept. Camilla could receive a dignified separate holiday acknowledgement, a formal private gesture recognizing her position without restoring her to the Sandringham gathering. The gesture would protect her status without forcing the family meal into performance. Charles understood the thin line Anne was drawing. It did not erase the wound, but it stopped the wound from becoming a confrontation on Christmas morning. Charles accepted, slowly, that Anne's objection had prevented something worse. Camilla had suffered, but the family had been spared a holiday built on silent resentment. Anne had not solved the pain. She had named it before it poisoned the table, and when the story moved beyond palace walls, the public did not see a scheduling change. They saw a royal Christmas split wide open. By Christmas morning, Camilla's absence had become impossible to ignore. One newspaper front page showed the Sandringham church path under the headline, Camilla missing from Royal Christmas. Outside St. Mary Magdalene Church, a crowd gathered early, whispering as the family arrived without her. A broadcaster captured the moment in one cutting line. "This is not an absence. This is a message, wrapped in Christmas silence." Camilla watched the coverage privately, and every word seemed to turn the empty place into something larger than she could control. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was one of the few traditions where family unity became a public symbol. The church walk, meaning the royal family's Christmas morning walk to the local church service, was watched for signs of closeness, order, and acceptance. When Camilla was missing from that wider Christmas picture, people did not read it as a quiet adjustment. They read it as a royal judgment. Anne heard the public support, but she took no pleasure in it. The Princess Royal knew the crowd outside St. Mary Magdalene Church had turned a private wound into national conversation, and she understood that Camilla's pain would deepen with every headline. Broadcasters explained the absence as a visible test of family unity, royal acceptance, and internal order. Anne believed the decision had protected Christmas from becoming dishonest, yet she also knew protection can still wound the person left outside. That truth stayed with her. Camilla felt the missing place become a public verdict on her belonging. The queen consort had endured years of judgment from outside the palace, but this was different. This did not feel like public criticism pushing inward. It felt like private distance spilling outward. She heard the broadcaster's phrase, "a message wrapped in Christmas silence," repeat across royal coverage, and the words seemed to settle over the day like a sentence. Camilla had not simply missed Christmas. She had become the story of Christmas. Anne's position strengthened when a woman outside St. Mary Magdalene Church was recorded saying, "Anne protected Christmas from becoming another performance." The comment traveled quickly because it gave the public a simple way to understand the crisis. To some, Anne had defended sincerity. To others, Camilla had been rejected by a family still unable to fully embrace her. The palace could not control either version, and that loss of control made the silence even heavier. Charles understood the danger as the coverage spread. The king had hoped restraint would prevent a public fracture, but restraint had become the very thing everyone was examining. Public reaction strengthened Anne's position, yet it forced the monarchy to define whether the removal was rejection or protection. As the crowd dispersed and the Christmas walk ended without Camilla, the monarchy faced its final verdict. One missing place had revealed the cost of royal truth. In the end, Anne's silence did not break to destroy Camilla. It broke because Christmas had become too heavy with things left unsaid. Camilla lost her place at Sandringham, but the loss carried more weight than one holiday absence. Anne won the argument, but not without sorrow. Charles chose stability over comfort, and the monarchy learned that unity means nothing when it is built on denial. Camilla remained removed from the Sandringham Christmas gathering, and the revised arrangement stood with a finality no private comfort could erase. Sandringham Christmas, the royal family's private holiday gathering at the Norfolk estate, mattered because it was where belonging became visible without a speech ever being made. The private family Christmas setting, meaning the closed family meals, chapel traditions, and household customs, shared away from formal state ceremony, had been challenged by Anne and accepted by Charles. Camilla received a dignified separate acknowledgement, but she was not restored to the gathering Anne believed had been pushed too close to performance. Camilla accepted the outcome quietly because resistance would only deepen the damage. The queen consort knew another objection would turn absence into open conflict, and open conflict would make her look more fragile than the removal already had. Still, quiet acceptance did not mean the wound had closed. Camilla had sought acceptance, not sympathy. She had wanted Sandringham to prove that her place beside Charles was settled. Instead, she learned that even Christmas could become a mirror, reflecting every doubt the family had tried not to name. Anne carried the cost differently. The Princess Royal had protected the meaning of Sandringham, but she had also hurt Charles's wife, and Anne understood that duty did not become painless just because it was necessary. In a documented private household account, Anne was described as steady, but visibly saddened, after the final arrangement was confirmed. She did not treat Camilla's absence as victory. She treated it as the price of refusing to let Christmas become a staged act of togetherness. Charles allowed the correction to remain because he understood the danger of reversing it. The king knew that forcing Camilla back into the private family setting would make unity look arranged, fragile, and false. The palace's final message emphasized dignity, privacy, and continuity, confirming that Christmas could not be reshaped simply to reassure one person. That message protected the institution, but it did not spare the people inside it. This was the closing judgment of the crisis. Camilla sought acceptance. Anne defended sincerity. Charles chose restraint. And the monarchy proved that its strongest traditions survive only when honesty is allowed to hurt. Anne did not remove Camilla to erase her, but to stop Sandringham Christmas from becoming a performance, and by defending one empty place, she reminded the monarchy that family unity only matters when it is real. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.